everybody. This is the next episode of Wednesday Night Undressed. I am Lewis Walton, and today I'm joined by Fernando, Alena, Evo, and Jamie. How's everybody doing tonight?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Woo! Doing
Sweet.
great.
All
Doing
right.
great.
So I got a couple questions I wanted to start off with, and as usual, wherever this heads, I don't really care. But I have been hearing over and over again all of the mask debates, and finally I talked to my buddy who is just a conspiracy theory nut, and he advanced the idea that the only reason that people are arguing about the masks is because it's all part of a government plot to make us stop wearing the mask because they then can't see us on the facial recognition.
Okay.
Does this hold any water for anybody? I'm just curious.
So if that was the case, the QAnon people, the conspiracy theorists, would never stop wearing masks. They would be wearing masks at all times.
You think
because,
so?
Because one of the things that they're most afraid of is facial recognition and cameras and Big Brother watching them wherever they go,
Right.
whatever they do. So if they believed in this, they would be wearing masks at all time, but they're not, you know, and
Well, I was gonna
go ahead, Alena.
Sorry, it did make me think of something that question because I know that in China they have so much facial recognition software on the streets all of the time, like everywhere, that there are, like, mask wearing is also kind of like a cultural thing in East Asian countries, but there are people that wear masks because they're activists there, or they're like well-known activists there. And it doesn't, I mean, it can't recognize you with a mask on right now.
So is anybody on the panel planning on wearing a mask after? Well, let's assume that we are going to have a period in our lives where COVID is not like following us all the time. If that were to happen, do you think you'll still wear a mask in public?
If there is no virus circulating around,
yeah,
I would not be wearing a mask.
Really?
Just like I didn't wear it for all the decades that I've been on Earth.
But it's kind of become like standard operating procedure now, and there are some good things about wearing the mask. Like, you don't have to deal with other people's stinky breath. That's maybe one of my favorite things.
Well, I mean, our faces are a massive part of our communication, scaffolding.
Yeah.
We recognize faces, we communicate with our facial expressions. There's nonverbal communication techniques that involve your face. We recognize faces, we see variety in experiencing people's faces on a daily basis on the street. It is good to have a face. It's your passport to your identity. And so to me, it's important not to wear a mask when there's no danger, no presence. I know that in Japan and in China, especially in Japan, wearing a mask in public has been part of life for quite a while, and still most people are not wearing them. But there's a substantial amount of people who wore masks, and it wasn't unusual. Now, in February of this year, if you wore a mask on the street or in a store, people would look at you like you're weird. Now it's reversed. Now, if you're not wearing a mask, people look at you when you're weird. So, we did a 180 degree in, a few short months. But I think if things go back to normal, part of normal life would be to be able to recognize each other on the street and recognize faces. And, that being said, I purchased a bunch of cool masks. In fact, I'll go get a couple. I'll be right back.
All right. Fernando, have you how is the mask phenomenon in Brazil? Are they dealing with the same kind of stupidity that we are here?
Well, you know what, Lou? I didn't have like even. I'm curious about on a mass like in public transportation, but as far as I know, like everybody's on top, like using their gear. Like I know, multi-generation, like everybody's on the same page, and they are even being more hardcore. Like my grandma, it took months for she start even like once my mom came back from US, my grandma just visited her like after a month later, and they're like the other day I called my parents. So for example, here is we're just like nobody using a mask. We have kids and Ray goes to baseball once a while. Luckily, it's over, but he went. Like I kind of disagree, but it's kind of a tough equation. Like I was just just roll my eyes and let it go, and we got lucky. But I disagree even that I think we should have been a little more hardcore. But long story short, I called my parents. Like, was everybody using masks inside their house then? So, but and I don't hear about this because here it's pretty weird too. As Ivo say, like I mean, I see, the both angles. Like some people that get like I mean, I think the right way is everybody use a mask, period, outside. But I went to some small towns. Well, doesn't need to go far away. Gas station seems like another planet. Sounds like gas station is free zone in Topeka or small towns. Like if you wear a mask in a gas station, they look to you weird.
Yeah.
But it's weird. There is the both vibes. Like people, you can feel who hates mask and I mean, I don't give like a bad look. It's just, I don't make expression, but I definitely like, I have like a negative opinion of people not using masks like in place that they don't enforce, but it is what it is. But I see people get to like the other day I went to yesterday in Topeka, I mean, very downtown I went to like a sports bar just to pick up a to-go food, and I came with the mask, and then I look inside. So if you're eating, but they're just chilling there, like when I look, I just see the group of guys. They look like it's kind of if you step on a Wild Wild West, bar, and say, dude, just pick up my food, chill.
Yeah.
Cool. I like it. I like the Zeppelin mask.
So
that's a cool one, Ivo. That's a cool one.
I have a Led Zeppelin mask. That's the one I wear the most. I also have this one.
Oh,
nice. Very nice.
Dark Side of the Moon.
Pink Floyd. Man. And I have one that's the cover of my book.
Very nice. Very nice.
I didn't have a mask one night. I was going to buy something, and I wore that one because I was just like had to grab for one. And the cashier was so confused. I felt like he was so strange.
You know what I was thinking, guys. Somebody's gonna make a lot of money. The first person, I'm just gonna share this because I hope somebody, the two people that listen to our podcast might have some kind of business acumen and take this idea and run away with it and make a business. But whoever comes up with the idea to print masks with the actual face of the person wearing the mask.
Dude, you are too late. You are too late. They are all over Reddit.
Seriously?
Oh, really?
My favorite is when,
Go ahead.
Actually,
they'll mess it up and accidentally make your face like 3 times as big as your face is, so you look like ridiculous.
I was thinking, how now Samsung is making a phone that's foldable, that you can fold the phone. So they're coming up with projection screens that are basically, you can fold them. You can stick them on the wall like a sticker.
Mhm.
You know, the next big revolution in screen technology is going to be stickers, like a wallpaper that
Uh-huh.
you can plaster on your wall, and it will be your TV. And I was thinking that the time is not that far where they'll be able maybe to make masks that will be like a screen that you can put on, and you can project stuff. You can project your face, and it's gonna be fun. You know, that would be a fun thing to do. There's so many cool masks. It's
Mhm.
become kind of cool fashion accessory. You can have all kinds of designs and prints. Jamie, should I show your mask or no? Okay, just a second. Yeah, that one will kick your ass.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm not making this up.
Uh-huh.
This is the mask that Jamie is wearing around town. And we go to places, to stores and stuff, and she's wearing this. Check it out.
That's brilliant. That's lovely.
It looks really pretty from a distance.
And then they get really
Flowers.
close and figure out what it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
They shouldn't stand close enough to understand what's on the mask.
amen. Amen.
So, listeners, you will have to go to YouTube to see what we're talking about,
Yeah.
Exactly.
because we can't even describe it.
No.
Indescribable.
Yeah, there's so many bizarre conspiracy theories about masks, how they will cause hypoxia, how they will cause carbon dioxide poisoning, or suppress your immune system, or increase your cortisol levels, all kinds of bizarre crap.
Yeah.
And the truth is that most masks are not going to do that unless you decide to run a marathon wearing a mask.
Well, did you see there again? This was on Reddit. There was a guy that put on 10 masks and ran a half marathon, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
To prove that it doesn't do anything to you. So
Yeah, and that's fantastic. The only negative side is that apparently you spent 12 hours a day on Reddit.
right.
Which is something new I learned about you.
Dude, if I only spent 12 hours a day on Reddit, wow.
But you know, like, but think about it. Like, this virus just start when they start putting the 5G antennas. Don't you think it's the
5G.
That's the real cause?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, speaking of insane conspiracy theories, apparently in Georgia, a Republican GOP candidate won the primary, and he's going to win the Senate seat, the Congress seat, because it's a very conservative district. And she is the first openly QAnon candidate that is completely pushing.
That's not good.
That's not good.
Wow, that's scary.
Yeah, she's a huge, she's basically a QAnon character, candidate.
Wow.
So that's kind of disturbing.
It is.
So, Ivcho, do the conspiracy theories carry the same popularity back home?
Yes, Bulgarians love conspiracy theories.
Huh.
They love it.
Uh-huh.
And because the country has not been hit by the virus the way we are, whatever the reasons, maybe just health-wise, they're better prepared for this, or don't have the aging population that we have.
Right.
But they basically, very few people have gotten the virus, and very few have died. You know how we have here 1,000 deaths a day now? 1,000 people die every day from COVID-19. And that number is actually deflated, according to a lot of people. Well, in Bulgaria, there's no 1,000 deaths combined since the epidemic started. There aren't that many. There's like very few. And so barely anybody knows somebody that has COVID, that has given a positive test. There's like, people don't know anyone that has positive test. So in this vacuum of positive tests, immediately there's a niche for conspiracy theories.
Wow.
And people are convinced now that it doesn't exist, that the ruling class has created the craze, the COVID craze, to control the people. And, there's numerous conspiracy theories. And most people, frankly, are convinced that it's not really a pandemic, that it's fake.
Wow.
So that's where we are. It's so weird. It's a kind of a dichotomy, because if you are successful in containing the virus, you're damned.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're unsuccessful, you're damned again. So
right.
there's a no win situation.
Mm. All right, I think that's enough for masks. I'm going to move on to my next question, which is, have you guys noticed that all of our sci-fi shows, movies that we grew up with are like just failing? Like they're just simply not telling the stories anymore. They don't know what to do with Star Wars. Star Trek is dead in the water. They haven't made a new Star Trek movie in, I'm guessing, 6 or 7 years. With no plans to release one anytime soon. Do you think that is an indicator of like a different mindset that we have now, or just what's going on there?
What do you think?
Yeah.
I think Star Trek is a lot more hopeful than Star Wars.
Uh-huh.
In some ways. That might be why Star Trek isn't operating well currently.
Uh-huh.
Because I don't think, well, I also thought even before, like, I guess, like, culturally, like, things started to feel really heavy, that, like, most of our media is pretty negative.
Uh-huh.
In the last, like, 20 years or so, like, the things that get popular are pretty negative, and I think that, like, Star Trek and Star Wars are more like positive, popular culture sci-fi things, if that makes sense, than like dystopian sci-fi things like Black Mirror, or even like the Twilight Zone is a little bit darker.
Gotcha.
Than I don't know.
So, but even Twilight Zone is kind of, well, it's not, I shouldn't say it's suffering, but CBS put it on their online service because they didn't think it would be popular enough to.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's been great. I mean, there are some episodes I didn't like, but I think it's been pretty good overall.
Is it possible that just stories get exhausted? Characters get old, narratives get predictable, and do we really have any franchise, not just sci-fi franchise, that is prospering? I can't think of one.
Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, I just keep going. It will go until I die. I feel like they'll million.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just at some point it's time to call it quits. The Star Trek, Star Wars, now they're making another Matrix movie. There's going to be a fourth Matrix movie. We've lived with those characters maybe too long. Maybe they're no longer interesting. In a way, I think the Firefly mythology benefited from ending that early. Serenity, it just ended after one season and one movie, and it never really squeezed the business aspect of the sequels, never squeezed the life out of it, and that's why maybe it's still so popular. At the same time, there's a prospering sci-fi movie industry and a lot of interesting sci-fi movies that continue to win awards, to mesmerize. And if you think of a few years back, the movie Arrival, so the sci-fi genre became more cerebral. It's no longer a genre that wants to wow you with special effects.
Mhm.
We've got immune to special effects. What's really happening is these genres become more innovative, cerebral, and existential and philosophical.
Mhm.
So that's why we have movies like Inception, Interstellar, The Arrival that won an Academy Award. These movies were all nominated for Best Pictures. Something that Star Wars and Star Trek never achieved.
Yeah.
Because they reach beyond the wow factor. They try to trigger contemplation and philosophical critical thinking. And so we have incredible sci-fi movies. Ex Machina was a fantastic movie. And there's still sci-fi movies that are tailored to scare you or wow you, and they're original, more original, like Bird Box. Remember Bird Box?
Yep.
With Sandra Bullock, and there was another one. The guy from The Office made one that was about sound, similar to Bird Box.
Oh crap! I can't think of the name of it, but yeah,
Yeah,
John
I-
Krasinski and Emily Blunt. What was it, Alena?
A Quiet Place.
Quiet.
A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
That's
So
it.
these are all unexpected, interesting movies with surprising narrative twists. There's serpentine plot lines. And, I'm still trying to figure out Interstellar.
I just rewatched that again, like just a couple of weeks ago. It is a movie that you kind of have to take apart piece by piece.
Yeah, Inception is the same way. So the sci-fi genre is not dead. People still create sci-fi movies. One franchise that really I feel like it fizzled was the Alien franchise.
Mhm.
After the first two brilliant movies, it just went downhill. Although there's a little bit of a dispute now with the David Fincher entry into the franchise. A lot of people say this is a metaphor for the AIDS epidemic,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to rewatch this, the third movie of the
Right.
franchise.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know what's happening with the Prometheus and the next one. Apparently, another one's in the works, but
I
it's,
liked Prometheus. A lot of people hated Prometheus. I liked that one. It was like a prequel.
yeah, it was interesting. But franchises probably are meant to die. I don't even know if James Cameron needed to spend 10 years of his career making Avatar sequels.
Mhm.
I don't know. Now apparently they pushed Avatar 2 to 2022. I mean, the guy was in his prime as a movie maker, and just quit making movies so he can dedicate 15 years of his life of making avatars.
Wow. Yeah, tell George Lucas that too. I mean, how much time, right? I think that's. Uh, I mean, my point is, I think like the thing never gonna end, but this mainstream Hollywood, like Star Wars franchise, I got very happy when went out of George Lucas' hand. I think it's an amazing job what they did, like spinning off now, new stories, new lines, like The Mandalorian. I think is amazing. The last two movies, I think it was fairly great, but I wish, remember, guys, we grew up like how many years we wait from the first one to even Return of Jedi, and then there was what 20 years of waiting, and I wish I wish if we could go back in time, like don't ask me what are gonna change in the world. I would make George Lucas say, make it the shit 1 year, another year, another year. Probably, perhaps we would have forgot about this franchise. I think there was so much expectation, then it become more wanted, and then become this empire that I mean, at the end is getting a huge turnaround. But if you see everything that got in contribution, it's almost nothing. Like I mean, it's dumb stories. I mean, there is fun there, but at the end, it's a dumb storyline. Come on, guys, right?
No,
Yeah.
I
Darth
agree.
Vader, Luke Skywalker, is dumb dialogues and
it's a story about space wizards and their magical energy. So yeah, it's like Star Wars to me is way closer to fantasy than
Yeah,
sci-fi. So yeah.
but but I mean, taking those franchises, like always there was some good creations, and hopefully you're gonna have more. Like I'm not following much, but you know, Battlestar Galactica now it's already been a while, and even they kind of remake, right? There was the old version,
Mhm.
the newer version that's already fairly old was decent. Movies, Moon with what 2009, the David Bowie son, the Duncan Jones, it was phenomenal, and then all the ones Evo mentioned and you too. I mean, I it's you know, we gotta be a good storyline and period. I mean, everybody loves sci-fi, but it gotta be a good sci-fi.
Well,
There's
I
a
think Evo like hit the nail on the head when you were talking
Yeah,
about like just franchises in general. Like they end up having to fail because
and
as I'm sitting here thinking about it, I can't think of any franchise that really maintains its quality over, especially like we're talking about 20 or 30 years. Like that
Fast and
just doesn't
Furious.
happen. Well, besides Fast and the Furious.
yeah,
I feel like well, maybe just because I grew up watching Doctor Who, it's probably a lot handier.
Doctor Who.
but
I feel like
Doctor Who.
it lasted for a while before it fell off.
Uh-huh.
yeah, Doctor Who television is a little different because it's serialized. You know, it's meant to be sequel episodic.
Hmm.
Long
Uh,
lasting, yeah.
but you know, Lewis is right. No franchise is meant to maintain a level of excellence. I mean, it's not Shakespeare never made Hamlet 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Hmm.
You know, and it's just not meant to happen.
Yeah.
Just it gets old. It gets old. This being said, Louis, I know that you can't wait for the new Dune.
I am literally like all twisted up because I have no expectation that it's going to be better than what came before it. It's just such a complicated story, and it is. There are essentially two interpretations that exist right now, and I don't even understand how there could be room for a third. But I'm super excited to see it.
Yeah, I
So
know you love the Dune
I
story.
do. It's all of the life's philosophies are included in Paul Muad'Dib's litany against fear. So that's I literally cannot wait for it. There's probably nothing that I'm more excited
Who
about
who
as far as
who
entertainment.
who directed Dune, the
Uh,
original?
the original was uh, uh, David Lynch, Dino De
Yeah, that's
Laurentiis. Yeah, and uh, 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 I know Fernando, you've seen Jodorowsky's Dune, right?
yes.
Yeah, and so Jodorowsky just came out like yesterday saying like I'm gonna go see it, but I'm not gonna like it. So yeah, I think it's gonna be fantastic. But like I said, I don't know that there's any franchise that could survive that kind of time leap. Like going from 1983, 1984, whenever it was Dune came out to now, like how do you retell that story that quite honestly failed not only every previous attempt to make it, but when they finally did make it, like it was a cinematic flop. Like how are they going to do it any different this time? That it's any better.
Yeah, eventually, what I've discovered with franchises is they start retelling the same story in different locations.
Hmm.
They just change that's happened entirely to Jurassic Park. You know, um, the Matrix tried to do it. It was a complete disaster, at least in my opinion. It looks like that's what James Cameron is doing with Avatar. So, you know, I think it's ill-advised. If something is successful and you did it well the first time, just let it go. Let it go and start a new story. If
Hmm.
you're a writer, if you're a movie maker, just just go ahead and start a new chapter, completely new story.
So I
Right.
I personally feel like J.K. Rowling has kind of ruined the Potter universe because she's
Yeah.
hanging on to that story for dear life and squeezing every last bit of juice she can out of it. Um,
Yeah,
so I would
and
have to agree with you.
yeah, and how about the fantastic, beautiful Twilight? She didn't have to do.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
have to ruin that masterpiece, you know. And 50 Shades of Grey, come on,
Yeah. Yeah.
just leave the masterpiece alone.
Yeah. Why ruin such perfection?
Oh my God, yeah, you guys are crazy.
Yeah. All right. How about word aversions? Anybody here got a word aversion? Anybody here dislike the word moist?
I've heard about this, and I don't mind it.
Uh-huh.
I've never really.
I don't like the word pus, but it's because of Jessica.
Pus?
Yeah, because she was talking one time about how when she hears the word pus, she feels pus. And ever since she said that, I hate the word pus.
Oh.
That's brilliant. Um, I don't know that there's a single word that I actually know. I was thinking about this actually as I was sending out the question. My wife like speaks Spanish, like she kind of intermingles Spanish with like other stuff that she's talking about, and so she'll be talking about the kids are sick, and she's like, yeah, he's like really not feeling bad. He's got a bunch of mucus coming out of his nose, and for some reason, like the word mucus is like not a problem at all. But as soon as she says mucus, it's like, what the hell is that? Like you're talking about? Or when she's talking about like uh, again, talking about little kids changing their diapers, make sure that you wipe his culo really good. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, if she had just said butthole, like, I'm fine. If she had said ass or whatever, but all of a sudden, these different words, they leave me very, very unnerved, and I don't know why.
Yeah. But these are all words that describe something disgusting, like
Uh-huh.
pus, mucus, snot. Moist you associate with a wound sometimes, and blood and whatnot, and so But how about a word that describes something innocuous, but you don't like? Is there such a word?
For me, I don't think so. I think that for me, the word has to have like a sinister connotation uh, to at least have some feeling of discomfort around the word. So there is no word that simply by the way that it's pronounced or the character of the word bothers me. And I think that kind of goes in line with like most people's word aversion. I think that the guy that did the research like pegged it to one of three things. It's either um, like you said, something that's got to do with a bodily function or a social taboo. And there was maybe one other area that he said these are problematic words for folks.
Um, there's some words that are weird in a way that some people apparently their central nervous system cannot process them correctly, so they undergo some kind of distortion on their path between the brain and the vocal cords. And I'm obviously the first one that comes to mind is the word nuclear, where
Yeah.
apparently 40% of people in the world cannot pronounce the word nuclear correctly and say nuclear. Just, and these are often very intelligent people that otherwise have no speech impediment, and they know how the word is spelled and everything, but something happens.
Yeah, that's a very curious fact. Like you always bug my mind when I heard like I think it was George Bush.
Yeah.
Did he say nuclear? Like what the? It's nuclear, right?
Yeah, and I thought that this was uniquely him, but then I have friends.
The same.
And other people, a lot of people that cannot pronounce the word nuclear and said nuclear. and it's apparently some bizarre mnemonic discharge or something. I don't know what happens, but in this pathway between the brain and the vocal cords, it gets twisted.
So I've definitely got a word like that. Like the thing that you put a letter in, an envelope. Like I know that that's wrong, but that's the only way that I've ever learned how to say that word. Or I can say the verb when you envelop something, but I know there's another pronunciation, but I literally can't force myself to do it.
Yeah.
Did you say it wrong? I thought you said it right. Envelope?
That is like the original French pronunciation. That's not how we as Americans are supposed to pronounce it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so
What
every
was it?
time I get into a certain group of people, they make fun of me for saying envelope, but that's the only way that I've ever known to say it until
Oh,
probably until I moved to Kansas and people started making fun of me.
huh.
I'm sorry, how are you supposed to say it?
Well, I say envelope, and that's not how you guys say it.
I say envelope.
You do. Huh.
What is it?
How,
What's the
how do my people say envelope?
I
Lou?
don't know. See, that's the thing. I can't
Oh, my
even
people
do it.
are not your people. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Exactly. Yeah.
are they saying on? Are they just like quickening it? Like
No, it's
on?
like a complete like the en in the beginning. It like it's not envelope, but it's very similar. Like crap. It's and I just can't do it. I apologize. Like
No,
this
you're
is
fine.
a problematic word for me. It causes me
Louis, we have
trauma.
no idea who you're hanging out with. That's all I have to say.
Probably the old CLO crew. You know how Holly used to make me nervous. So um yeah, so that's not like a well for me that's just because I never learned how to actually talk like a normal person. So you guys also used to make fun of me for saying book desk when I meant bookshelf. But again, that was just me not learning correctly when I was a kid. Yeah, book desk. Don't even try to make sense out of it. I can see the wheels turning from here, Alena. It just doesn't make sense. All right. Anybody else got any words that cause them problems before we move on?
Um, sarcophagus was always a bizarre word for me because sarcophagus to me always sounded like some kind of infection.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when you say sarcophagus and like, oh, I've got a really bad case of sarcophagus, but it's actually a coffin.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of but it's a Greek word, so it's the same in Bulgarian.
Mm-hmm.
So I always had this problem, this issue with sarcophagus. Thankfully, it's very rare that I use it. So
hope you're not walking around talking about or to dead people all the time. So that's a good thing.
there's just generally a lot of words that sometimes sound like a disease to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like let's say I'm trying to think of one now, but I can't. But yeah, there's every once in a while
Mm-hmm.
there would be a word that I'm like, okay, this is amazing that this is not some kind of disease.
See, I guess the only thing like that for me is like there are words that usually ending in the FAG or PHAGE phage ending. Like
Mhm.
whenever I think of like a glucophage or an autophage, it is a mindless eating machine, and that is, I mean, that's essentially what it is. And so it's just kind of a sinister idea, I guess. But there's no particular word or anything like that. So.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along. How about the historical statue question? Have you guys heard anything about people questioning whether or not like statues of George Washington and those guys should come down? Like,
Yeah, of
do you
course.
think there is a point where we go too far with pulling statues down, or do you think that they are, if they're questionable history, we should maybe start looking at maybe they should come down?
Yeah. Well, like a lot of the with the Confederate generals, a lot of that stuff was obviously not put up right after the war because they were traitors.
Mm-hmm.
So there were like statues that were specifically put up during the civil rights movement to make people feel awful
Mm-hmm.
about where they were living in their communities. So they're not statues that really represent America or Americans, because Confederates were presumably proudly not Americans.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they really have any place in our country,
Right.
personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are not a statue, of Caligula carved by Michelangelo.
Mm-hmm.
These are statues that are politically motivated. They were erected during the Jim Crow era to remind the rebels where their place is.
Mm-hmm.
To remind them about the horrors of the Civil War and intimidate them. And so it is hilarious to me that people are defending those statues, and usually those people are without any knowledge of history, and people that really are not interested in research and never have been interested in really the meaning of those monuments. So to me, obviously there's a line that can be crossed. You mentioned George Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he created the republic. He was a founding father, and yeah, he was a monstrosity on some level. And now, the right likes to propagate the lie that he freed his slaves,
Mm-hmm.
which is a total lie. He didn't free his slaves. In fact, he persecuted those who dared to try to become free
Mm-hmm.
to the end.
Yeah.
So he's got tons of darkness surrounding him, but we shouldn't take his statues down or his portraits. I think, he's a figure that truly represents a historical time in this country, and he's a powerful figure that did a lot of good things.
Mm-hmm.
And we gotta keep the reminders of certain people, whether we like it or not. Christopher Columbus, very controversial figure, but you have a 300-old monument of Christopher Columbus. Leave it alone.
Hmm.
There's a tons of horrific human beings who still have their statues scattered around places like Rome and Athens. Statues of horrible despots and emperors, but they're works of art, and they should stay, and we should learn about them. At the same time, we had no problem toppling down the statue of Saddam Hussein
Mm-hmm.
in Baghdad, of a monster. We brought down the statue of Lenin in Sofia. And Alena, you remember this beautiful statue in the middle of Sofia? And of course, Louis remembers it, and Jamie probably, of the patron of Sofia, a woman with an owl on her shoulder, symbolizing wisdom. And that's on that very same place. There was a statue of Lenin, which was he had for my entire life. That place was I equated it with the statue of Lenin, giant monument of Lenin in full body and raising his arm in a karate chop type of thing. Yeah, it was like I was joking that he's like a karate expert, and like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so we toppled that statue after the fall of communism and erected a beautiful replacement of the patron of Saint Sophia. And so I say, certain statues, it is better to leave them and make the people that erected them regret that they put them up in the first place. And my example for this is, how can you make them regret it? Well, don't we have a perfect example? This one, for example, is in the middle of Sofia, and is a horrific statue. It's a giant monument of the Soviet army. And a lot of people hate the fact that there's a statue of the Soviet army. It's a massive obelisk. On top of the obelisk, there's a Russian, like two Russian soldiers, a man and a woman raising raising a machine gun. And around that monument, we have these ensemble statues, like you're seeing on my screen, of heroic-looking Russian soldiers on the attack. There's a guy holding a German Schmeiser automatic gun right here. There's a guy with a gun, a guy holding a flag, and blah, blah, blah. And they look very heroic. Well, people go at night and somehow, even with cameras and everything, manage to mess with that statue. In this version here, you can see that somebody painted their hands in blood, like they have bloody hands. There's another one when the band Pussy Riot was imprisoned in Russia. In Russia, these girls from Pussy Riot were imprisoned for a long time and persecuted. And in their support, somebody put underwear on the heads of the, different kinds of underwear on the heads of the soldiers in support of Pussy Riot. Then when they attacked Ukraine, somebody painted the Ukrainian flag onto the statue. And my personal favorite, Fernando, was one night, someone brilliant, and there's a rumor that it might have been actually Banksy, went, nobody knows who he was, and did this to the statue. So awesome. You have Superman, Ronald McDonald, the American flag, Santa Claus, the Joker, Robin, and Captain America.
Oh, is that Wolverine too, right?
I'm not sure.
The yellow blue there.
Oh yeah, maybe. But yeah, it was just a brilliant work. It was just so well done.
Amazing.
It was massive news.
And the US flag. Gosh.
Yeah, US flag. So people that built that monument are kind of regretting now, and they wish they hadn't, and they're sick and tired of people messing with it and sending subtle messages by painting it different colors. And
well, if you can if you can take down a monument and maybe replace it with a monument of something new, something that feels more important, that's very powerful. But then if it's a monument like that is really difficult to just topple, it's probably effective to be like, oh, well, this is the people's monument then, like the way they're doing that. Like we make the monument to what we're fighting for then, if it has to be here, if we can't get rid of it.
You know what,
Ivo, this is the monument that gave me nightmares after visiting Bulgaria.
Yeah, this is Stefan Stambolov in Sofia. He was the prime minister in Bulgaria, and he was assassinated with a sword. And somebody he got killed with a sword on that spot. In
really?
Sofia, they built this disturbing monument, but it's nowhere as disturbing as I don't know what kind of curse is following the great soccer player Cristiano Ronaldo, because he has two statues that they built. He's alive, but he's a legendary soccer player. He's still playing, and he's from an island, Madeira Island, in Portugal, and they built him a couple of statues. This one is a total disaster, and I'll show you the statue, and then I'll show you the actual Ronaldo. So let me look. I know I have a standalone picture of the statue, and I don't know who commissioned that person to build it's a bust. It's just his face, supposedly his face. Look at this disaster, if you can see.
So it was probably ordered by Jared Kushner.
this is the actual, yeah, this is the actual Ronaldo on the right, and some idiot, and of course you can imagine, you can imagine the memes, the meme where there's a meme, there's one when somebody took Photoshop and made him actually like the statue, then put the statue on the actual Ronaldo. You know, do you remember the guy from Batman?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, Two-Faced. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the horrific two statues dedicated to Ronaldo. The other one looks okay. It's Ronaldo. It's an actual statue, not just a bust. But whoever made the statue decided to give him a massive bulge, you know, in the groin.
Oh yeah.
So now people started going and rubbing his bulge. You know, the tourists are dying to go there and rub his bulge. And so that was a disaster. So the guy just can't catch a break. It's like, Alena, when we went to Verona, remember, Italy, and went to the Romeo and Juliet's house. There's a statue of Juliet in Verona, and people have decided that they have to hold her right breast of the statue for luck. And so the statue, the right breast is different color now. And same thing happened with Ronaldo's groin. It became different color from the rest of the statue, and it's even more embarrassing. So,
I just have to interrupt quickly to say Ronaldo's groin. Great
Yeah.
name for a rock band.
oh yeah. And guys, have you seen the Lucille Ball statue?
Yes.
Look at that. Guys, look at this. This is freaking horrific. Horrific. I have one more to show you, but I'll let you guess, because it's really impossible to guess who the statue is of. But Lucille Ball is certainly one of the biggest fails in the statue department. Let me find one. So we got Ronaldo. Okay, here it is. One. Okay. Can you guess this disaster? What this disaster is?
Oh, guess who that is? Is it Mr. Rogers? I don't know why I guessed
Oh, that's a good one.
I think
Mr.
that might be
Rogers.
it.
It's Mr. Rogers. There is a.
I got it.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's close.
It's bad though.
That's
Wow.
nightmarish. I thought the Lucy one was hideous. That is just absolutely wrong.
Yeah, and Cristiano Ronaldo is complaining. Could be worse.
Yeah, because this Mr. Rogers, man, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, that is that should just come down. There's nothing
But
else to say.
Alena gave me a good idea. Alena gave me a good idea that we should leave the statues, the statues of hate, like Robert E. Lee, whatever, and mess with them in a different way. Like leave like Robert E. Lee and build a giant statue next to him that dwarfs him of somebody, like Martin Luther King, you know, and just you remember?
Yeah. If it's a monument that's difficult to remove, like the monument in Sofia would be really difficult for just like 50 people to come and take. But if it's something that's like really large, and then you can like mess with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, remember what they did with the fearless girl at Wall Street? They had the Bull of Wall Street, and they did a beautiful figure of a fearless girl facing the Wall Street Bull, and that was kind of a statement, you know, an artistic statement. And you know, you can leave the statues and make the hateful people that erected the statues regret that they built them.
So what do you do? Like, has anybody on the panel besides me been to Stone Mountain, Georgia? Have you guys seen that up
Oh,
close?
Oh
Like
my God.
it
No, never.
is quite literally like amazing. Like it is so big, and it's these, three clan leaders that are
Ooh,
carved out of the biggest face of granite on the planet. Like there
wow.
is nothing bigger. There you can't make a bigger statue or bigger carving than what's at Stone Mountain. And I went there when I was probably 15 years old. I did a college tour and they took us to Stone Mountain, and I'm looking at it thinking, this is maybe the most terrifying thing that I've seen, because it is again the biggest carving on the planet, and it's dedicated to these three hateful people. Like uh that one I think would have to just come down.
Come down.
But
Destroy.
yeah, but uh because again that's the biggest face of solid rock that we have to carve on. We could put all kinds of cool stuff there. Show us that Pink Floyd uh, mask again, Evo. How would that
yeah.
look on the side of Stone Mountain?
Yeah, seriously.
Uh-huh.
That would be something else. But
Yeah, there you go. That's what we
Yeah.
need.
yeah, that's what we need. By the way, behind me,
Mhm.
is the inexplicable statue, supposedly of Oscar Wilde in London.
What?
What the F
Oh.
is that? It's freaking frightening. It's
Uh-huh.
like he went through. It's like he went through an event horizon,
No
and
joke.
his body and face got scrambled.
I was honestly thinking either Jabba the Hutt or Donald Trump when you first put it up there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
He was
all,
pretty vain. He would have hated that, I think.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Like
He was
deeply.
so, he was so vain. He was so vain and such a snob. He would have died looking at this thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Speaking as the resident vain person on the panel, I can say that he would probably just like divorce himself from it. Like that's not me, and just be completely
Yeah.
okay with it.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. All right, guys, it has been just over an hour, so I want to thank you guys for joining in. I had fun. I hope you guys did too. And to our now two listeners and potential viewers, thank you for giving us a listen. Evo, do we have any word from the sponsors for this week?
Not today. I recycled a couple of old ones. Maybe I'll recycle another one next time. It's up to our advertisers. If
All
they
right.
want to run it again, we'll do.
That sounds good. All right. In that case, this is Lewis Walton signing off for Fernando, Alena, Evo, and Jamie. Thank you and have a good week.
You.
Good.